This is Korea News for May 6, 2022. Na Sun, a former member of the group Apink, shared a good news in the United States. Her hand Naeun posted several pictures on her own Instagram without saying anything. In her published photos, Naeun Sun is sitting in the trunk of her car and eating her. On this day, he is enjoying free time without being aware of his surroundings, matching jeans and sneakers with a large hooded t-shirt. Naeun Sun is currently traveling in the United States. Naeun Sun, who debuted as Apink in 2011, left the group last month. Naeun Sun said in a handwritten letter, "I have decided to leave Apink, which I have been with for 11 years. After much deliberation, I have made a difficult decision." Before there was Ji and Do-yeon at the Cannes Film Festival and Yeo Jong-yoon at the Academy, there was actress Kang Soo-yeon. Actor Kang Soo-yeon, who had already achieved achievements before Korean films spread to the world, suddenly collapsed. The film industry was shocked by the news delivered without notice. Actor Kang Soo-yeon was transported to the hospital in cardiac arrest due to cerebral hemorrhage. Kang Soo-yeon said that he was preparing to leave the United States this month. However, his specific reason was not revealed. It is said that the Netflix movie Shanghai, starring Kang Soo-yeon, has finished filming and was in post-production. Directed by Yeon Sang-ho, this film is the first comeback to the screen in 9 years since Jury in 2013. Kang Soo-yeon complained of pain at her home in Apgu Jongdong, Gangnam-gu, Seoul around 5:48 p.m. on the same day, and was found to be in cardiac arrest by a firefighter dispatched to the scene after a family report. He was reported to have complained of a headache since this morning. Tensions are rising ahead of a personnel hearing on the 9th as Justice Minister candidate Han Dong-hoon confronts the allegations raised over his daughter with a legal response. Former Justice Minister Cho Kook, whose daughter's entrance exam corruption allegations were treated criminally through an investigation by a candidate, continues to criticize one candidate every day. As Democratic lawmakers also join the sniper of former Minister Cho, the battle over the so-called spec and parents' chance of a candidate's daughter is expected to continue for a while. On the 5th, a candidate's side said, after the Hankurez false and distorted reports, the email accounts of underage children's volunteer activities became the target of coordinate taking attack. "We have no choice but to take legal action against minors, such as abusive language and insults," he said. On the 5th, the former candidate Lee Jae-myung and his wife were all listed as suspects in a search and seizure warrant presented by the police investigating the special misappropriation of Jaehyung-gi-do corporate card by Kim Hae-kyung, wife of former Democratic Party presidential candidate Lee Jae-myung. Known. The police are said to have charged the two with a loss of about 550 million won in the national treasury. The Jaehyung-gi Southern Police Agency's anti-corruption investigation team seized and searched the Jaehyung-gi General Affairs Division, the investigation officer's office, and the medical office for about 10 hours on the 4th of last month. A police official explained, the power of the people specified former presidential candidate Lee Jae-myung and his wife Kim as the accused at the time of the accusation, so the names of two people were included in the warrant. Meanwhile, former presidential candidate Lee Jae-myung will soon decide whether or not to run for the National Assembly by-election on June 1st. Former candidate Lee Jae-myung is said to be considering running as a member of the National Assembly in Jaehyung-ul, Incheon, which was the district of Songyung-gil, who is running for mayor of Seoul on the same day. Rep. Choi Kang-wook of the Democratic Party of Korea has officially apologized for the so-called JJJJL expression that has been engulfed in controversy. It is interpreted as admitting to the allegation of causing sexual discomfort with inappropriate remarks in a private online video conference within the party. On the 4th, on the Democratic Party's website, Rep. Choi said, "Even if it was not intentional, I apologize to our party aides who suffered mental pain from my remarks. I will look forward to it," he said. White House Press Secretary Jen Psaki said on the 5th local time that U.S. President Joe Biden will visit South Korea and the U.S. to make stronger commitments to the security of the alliance. President Biden will visit South Korea and Japan to meet with the newly inaugurated President-elect Yoon Suk-yeol and Japanese Prime Minister Fumio Kishida, Psaki said at a briefing on the same day. "We will discuss the challenges of regarding North Korea's continued unsafe acts in the region, including the launch of multiple intercontinental ballistic missiles. President Biden will make clear our commitments to the security of South Korea and Japan," he said. "We will make a big promise." Samsung Electronics and SK Hynix are competing fiercely to establish a semiconductor contract department at Seoul National University next year. They even offered a guarantee of employment in addition to tuition support, and started a preemptive admission of professional manpower. The semiconductor industry pointed out that the shortage of semiconductor specialists is getting serious to the point that it has no choice but to do this. According to industry sources on the 5th, Samsung Electronics recently proposed to establish a semiconductor contract department at Seoul National University with a capacity of 80 students from next year and jointly operate it for 5 years. The conditions were that it would provide scholarships that can be used for living expenses as well as tuition, and guarantee employment at Samsung Electronics after graduation. Earlier, it was reported that SK Hynix also requested Seoul National University to jointly operate the semiconductor contract department. The contract department is usually operated for a period of 5 years after a one-to-one contract is made between a university and a company. The reason Samsung Electronics and SK Hynix are competing like this is because there is a shortage of semiconductor experts. This is a detour plan that was prepared after deliberation to expand the professional manpower. According to the Ministry of Trade, Industry, and Energy, the semiconductor industry, including major domestic semiconductor companies and research institutes, needs 1,500 new professional manpower annually. However, the number of graduates from semiconductor-related departments is about 650 a year, less than half. Samsung Electronics and SK Hynix are planning to establish a semiconductor contract department at major universities for the time being to respond to emergency. However, it is reported that even the operating conditions of the semiconductor contract department, which is a temporary expedient, are not favorable. Last year, Samsung Electronics unofficially asked Seoul National University to operate the semiconductor contract department. At that time, Seoul National University professors and current students objected, saying, "University that should pursue academic studies should not become a training center for technical manpower," and it was cancelled. The New York stock market plummeted one day after the Federal Reserve made a big step in raising the policy rate by 50 basis points at once. The three major U.S. indices on the New York Stock Exchange all fell more than 3% on the 5th local time, returning all gains on the day of the battle. The S&P 500 index, which focuses on large-cap stocks, fell 3.56% to close at 4,146.87. The Dow Jones Industrial Average also fell 3.11% to 32,997.97. It is the first time since June 2020 that the Dow Jones Index has fallen more than 1,000 points. The tech-focused Nasdaq Index fell 4.99% to close at 12,317.69. Following the rate hike by the U.S. Federal Reserve, the Monetary Policy Committee of the Bank of Korea raised the key interest rate to 1.5% last month, and the possibility of an additional hike on the 26th has increased. The current Fed rate hike has narrowed the gap between the benchmark interest rate between Korea and the U.S. from 0.5 to 0.75 percentage points. In general, even if Korea's base rate is higher than the U.S. policy rate, if the difference is not large or reversed, foreign investors' capital outflow and the won's value may decline. Earlier, Bank of Korea Governor Lee Chang-yong also pointed out whether the Fed will raise interest rates as a key factor in this month's interest rate decision. In a meeting with reporters last month, the governor of the Bank of Korea said, "The biggest variable in the May Monetary Policy Committee is the U.S. FOMC." Said, "Even considering the recent inflation trend, the Monetary Policy Committee is highly likely to raise the base rate this month." The domestic consumer price inflation rate rose 4.8% last month from the same month a year earlier, the highest in 13 years since the 2008 financial crisis. There are concerns that the inflation rate will exceed 5% by the end of the year. The labor union of Hyundai Heavy Industries has decided to extend the strike. They have been on strike since last month due to difficulties in wage negotiations in 2021. According to the industry on the 5th, the union of Hyundai Heavy Industries held a central dispute countermeasure committee at the Ulsan headquarters the day before and decided to strike from the 6th to the 13th. Previously, the union held a strike from the 27th of last month to the 4th of this month. The union plans to hold a 7-hour strike for all union members on the 6th, followed by a 7-hour strike or an 8-hour strike on the 9th and 10th. An all-out strike will be held from the 11th to the 13th. All 4 candidates for Sanjeong Motor have decided to submit acquisition proposals. According to the industry on the 5th, Sanjeong Motor and EY Hanyang Accounting Corporation, the lead underwriter of the sale, completed the preliminary due diligence of Sanjeong Motors the day before by KG Group, Songbul Group, Pavilion PE, and Elbed. The preliminary due diligence was conducted for 2 weeks from the 19th of last month. Sanjeong Motor plans to receive a conditional takeover proposal by the 11th of this month. It is reported that all 4 acquisition candidates have decided to submit acquisition proposals. KG Group will form a consortium with private equity fund Cactus Private Equity, and Songbul Group with special vehicle manufacturing affiliates, Kwanglim and KH Velux, respectively. Pavilion PE plans to join hands with financial institutions and automobile-related companies to acquire Sanjeong Motor, while Elbent plans to raise funds for the acquisition by attracting foreign investment. The acquisition price of Sanjeong Motor is estimated to be in the range of 400 billion won to 600 billion won. It is currently evaluated that KG Group is ahead of other acquisition candidates in terms of capital. The sale of Sanjeong Motor is carried out in a stalking horse method in which a conditional investment contractor is selected based on the acquisition amount and business plan in the acquisition proposal, and the acquirer is confirmed through an open bidding. The conditional investment contract is expected to be concluded at the end of this month if the proof of funds for the acquisition candidate selected as the conditional investment contractor goes smoothly. After that, Sanjeong Motor plans to conduct a bidding again in June to select the final takeover bidder. Thank you for watching today. Please like and subscribe.